Hello, this is TGC Requiem. We are back with another Sultai control from the Modern League. Again, on the draw. Looks good. Stinks to have the second land drop almost certainly be tapped, but again, could get a quick Tasigur, Tarmogoyf, probably lead with Tarmogoyf. Once it gets killed, drop the Tasigur. Yeah, looks like a good keep. Opponent mulligans down to 6. Opens with a Mesa. Assuming burn, but nothing happens at this point. Drew a fatal push. Excellent. So actually at this point, I have the choice to either go forest into probably Serum Visions, actually, just to make sure we can get another upright land, or we can just throw down a tar pit and our opponent didn't do anything. Looks like I go the more aggressive route. I absolutely would have gotten a breeding pool since I have black there. And again, normally, like I mentioned, you thought scour first, get more information before you Serum Visions, know what your opponent's on, possibly setting up your Snapcaster mages. But in this case, we Serum Visions, and I think I just put both of these on the bottom. We really want to land. No, it looks like I did keep one on top. Would have been the Fatal Push, not the Cryptic, based on the mana situation. And it's also because I'm going to have to play a Serum Visions the next turn, so that makes sense. With Creeping Tar Pit, it's okay to get the extra removal. Serum Vision should set up the next turn. So opponent is on Jeskai. So we actually thought Scour at this point because now Fatal Push seems weaker. My assumption was right, so I thought Scour on upkeep. I kept the what do you call it? The Fatal Push on top, thinking that excuse me, that with the red white I was probably playing some more aggressive style deck. But the Hallowed Fountain, Jeskai, probably doesn't have a lot of creatures, and so having a Fatal Push in hand already, no need for a second one. I mean, really, realistically, you're hoping to get a Celestial Colonnade in the late game or something. But depending on the build of Jeskai, they may have no creatures. It might be like Nahiri and an Emrakul, even though it's not as popular anymore. But it also could be Vendilion Click and Flash stuff. So anyway, so Thought Scour, get rid of the Fatal Push, end up drawing into another land, and then draw another land. Excellent. So at this point I just play the Creeping Tar Pit because it's probably going to be a longer game. No point in trying to jam Tarmogoyf. Not that I could anyway, based on the Thought Scour there. At this point though, I kind of figure... Okay, so we draw a Spell Snare. So at this point I figure... What are we doing here? Okay. So this is dumb. So I'm going to cast Tarmogoyf here. What I should do first is play a Watery Grave, or the Polluted Delta, and hold up Spell Snare, so when they go to Mana Leak or Remand it, I can just Spell Snare it. For whatever reason... Okay, so there we go. So I started to do it and I was like, whoa, buddy. So now I go to cast it, and in response he taps 2, and I'm excited, and then he Spell Quellers, and I'm like, wait. But it's okay, because we have Fatal Push. So we fetch, get a swamp, fatal push the Queller, and then recast the Tarmogoyf. Now be careful when it pops up here. If you click over here, you have to actually like right click and click cast on the image to get the Tarmogoyf down. But now we have a 4/5 Tarmogoyf outside of bolt range. Obviously if he's got a path, that's fine. It's just ramping us into a longer grindy game. And it's better to be ahead on mana in that situation, or at least even since he was on the play. Doesn't look like he has anything to handle the Tarmogoyf at the moment. No point losing extra life there. They can kind of do a little bit of damage to us fast, and I don't think there's really any reason to need 4 mana up at this point. Gets a bolt. Goes to Snapcaster the bolt. Or he goes to Snapcaster block. And we spell snare that. Get our damage in. That's a bit of a bummer. He's down to 2 cards already. And at this point, we Serum Visions. And I actually think that's excellent. So we actually, did I keep both of those on top? No, so I put the Flare, or the Tasker on the bottom because I already had it in hand, and then put the Flare on top. And I think I actually am going to just cast Tasker, no? I'm patient. Probably didn't want to make my Tarmogoyf too small, but really probably should have. I think with a Spell Queller build, you're probably a lot less likely to run into like a Supreme Verdict. So I also had another Tarmogoyf here. Goes to Snapcaster. So Snapcaster Bolt, excellent. So he's going to try and bolt the Tarmogoyf and block. He makes a sequencing error here. Before moving to blocks, he bolts the Tarmogoyf, and now I'm able to Abrupt Decay his Snapcaster before blocks. If he had went to blocks first, he would have been able to at least bolt me. So kind of a little bit of a sequencing error. However, that does hold us off of being able to cast Tarmogoyf or Flare. Do I cast Tassiger now? Yeah, there we go. So this basically puts him on the clock. It's down to 2 cards. And he didn't have anything, so that's game 1. So we're 1-0 in the match, and we'll move on to game 2. So again, we're on the draw. So I want to just note here at this point, this is the 8th game. I've been on the draw every single game this league. I think this looks good. Have good way to likely set up Grim Flare. We can definitely just lead off on Creeping Tar Pit. Opponent opens with a Serum Visions. We're not going to jam turn 2 Flare though. Probably just play the Delta. So Reinforce Defend either way. I guess we got to get green mana. the plan is probably here to Serum Visions. We don't want to cast Grimflare when it can die to Lightning Bolt. So fetch first, do our Serum Visions. So now we have 2 card types. Got an extra flare, that's excellent. Another Serum Visions. Snapcaster, Tomb, got a Tarmogoyf, excellent. Assuming we kept the Snapcaster on top. Yeah, we kept both on top with the Snapcaster first. Opponent goes Young Pyromancer. I believe I just jam a flare here, and I'm not so worried about his tokens. Obviously it stinks to have the flare have to be run out as a 2/2, but as soon as I get a creature in the graveyard, my next flare is a 4/4. Excuse me. And if he goes to bolt it, I can always fetch and try and Thought Scour, which might make the flare big enough anyway. So it just kind of depends on how our opponent makes the move. Gives them the least information, us having access to a bit more. Thought we were going to get pathed there, did not. Again, part of the reason we're not so worried about Young Pyromancer is trample. Excuse me. So I think here we're just going to crack the fetch. No, we just let it die. Okay, and that's fine. So probably part of my thought was, whatever, I need it to make my flare or Tarmogoyf bigger anyway. And I still have Fatal Push. And part of the thing with this is, I have to hit a creature to basically turn the flare on now anyway. And, with the 4 creatures here, I don't know if there's super high odds that, I think the odds are not great we would have hit a creature anyway. So we hold on to the fetch here just in case at this point, in case we needed to turn Revolt on for Fatal Push. Maybe in case they have Restoration Angel or something like that. So we actually are going to now throw out the second Grimflare. And this is, again, now that it's trample, this is kind of why I'm not so worried about Young Pyromancer. One damage, we're winning this race. No blocks. So now we fetched it, probably a little prematurely, especially considering we had the island. We held it up the last time. Also makes more sense, I guess, with the Grimflare at that point. So again, at the time of this match, I had 3 Grimflares, and so letting one die, knowing I had a couple more out there, makes a little more sense. Now with only 2, I might not have run it out there until I knew it was big enough. So we go for attacks. He Lightning Helixes it. And now the race is starting to change directions a little bit. So I think we just trade here. I'm kind of okay with this because we're still going to do 3 damage. We're still going to get to filter. So we are okay with that. Dispel Tar Pit, Polluted Delta. Probably throw the Delta away, possibly the Dispel. Nope, throw those. Keep Dispel on top. Now we fatal push the Pyromancer. He remands it, gets another token. Fatal push it again. The one down. Sorry. Pretty sure we fatal pushed it again. No? Yeah, there we go. Alright, so now we have a couple tokens, but a big old Tarmogoyf. We got Snapcaster and some mana. Obviously, he's got a handful of cards and some mana as well. We're A-okay with the chump blocks. Go to get our Grimflayer down. Do we get Spell Quellered again? And now I could have Snap Fatal Pushed there, but I think I want to wait to his end step, or at least now until attacks. I think I let the first attack go through though, right? Yeah, so just Thought Scour. And actually getting the Abrupt Decay is excellent because now there's nothing he can do about it, so I think we just Abrupt Decay him now. Get our Grimflayer back, who's now a 4/4 for our turn. And so all of a sudden the 3 points of damage he's doing to me becomes a problem because now I'm doing 8 back to him and he only did 1 to me. So I go to cast it again. Starts to do something. Oh, he Cryptics it, so we actually don't get it. But now we have Snapcaster plus a whole bunch of spells, along with the Dispel. Serum Visions into a Tassiger. Go for the Throat, Snapcaster Mage. I'm assuming Snap on top. Yep, so actually put both on top. And part of the reason I kept the Go for the Throat on top now is now I've seen he's actually a much more creature-based deck with Spell Queller or Young Pyromancer. There's a good chance he's running either Restoration Angels or Vendilion Clicks, other disruptive flash creatures. So anyway, we attack for 4, still winning the race, unless he peels like Bolt, Bolt, Bolt. So we get a Tassiger down, allowing us to still hold up Snapcaster. Obviously doesn't attack with the Elemental. Go to attacks. So he just must be holding cards that are maybe counter magic only, like Remands. Geist of Saint Traft. I don't think there's anything I can do to that. Let that resolve. However, he's going to have to almost chump block with it. In fact, actually, I think I force him to have to chump block here. Yeah, and so he just concedes, didn't have anything of relevance. And so we get another win, 2-0. That puts us to 4-0, 8-0. And we'll be back with the 5th and final match soon.